The wind was cold on the mining moon of Orcs. Metal buildings stood against the frozen storms like tired giants. Most people here kept to themselves. They worked long hours, collected their credits, and avoided trouble. Kyle was one of those people. He was a human engineer working in the power unit station. Every day was the same: check the systems, fix whatever broke, eat alone, and sleep early. He didn't mind the quiet. In fact, he preferred it. People on this moon brought trouble. That's why Kyle was surprised when he saw someone standing near the supply depot late that evening. At first, he thought it was just a shadow. But as he walked closer, he noticed the figure wasn't alone. A woman, wrapped in a dirty blanket, stood beside the door with two small children hiding behind her legs. Her pale purple skin and small elf-like ears told Kyle she wasn't human. Her eyes met his. She looked tired now, beyond tired. She looked desperate. "Please," she said softly, her voice shaking. "My kids are hungry. We haven't eaten in days. I'll do anything. Work, clean, even sleep by you if I must. Just feed them, please." Kyle froze. He didn't expect this. He had heard stories of refugees running from slavers or gangs, but he never thought he'd meet one. He looked at the children. A little boy and girl. Their eyes were wide, cheeks thin, and they were shivering. Kyle didn't speak right away. He looked around. The depot was closed, and most workers had already gone home. Nobody was watching. "You're not supposed to be here," he finally said. "This is a restricted zone." The woman lowered her head. "I know, but we had no choice." Kyle sighed. His mind told him to walk away, not get involved. But his heart pulled him in another direction. He looked into his small ration bag. He had enough food for tonight and maybe some left over for tomorrow. He stepped closer and handed her 2 energy bars. "Here," he said. "Give these to your kids." She took them carefully, eyes wide with thanks. She quickly unwrapped the bars and gave one to each child. They didn't hesitate. They ate fast, like they hadn't tasted food in days. Kyle watched them. Something in him shifted. "You can come with me," he said after a pause. "I have a spare work tent. It's not warm, but it's better than freezing out here." The woman looked at him, stunned. "You'd let us stay?" "Just for tonight," Kyle said quickly. "And you'll have to help me with some repairs tomorrow?" "I'm not running a charity." "Yes, of course, anything. Thank you," she said, bowing her head again. They walked in silence. The children walked slowly, holding on to their mother's robe. Kyle noticed the boy limped a little. The girl looked scared of every sound. When they reached Kyle's tent, he opened the side door. The heater was small, but it worked. There was a cot and a few tools scattered around. He cleared a corner and gave them a thin blanket. "It's not much, but it's dry," Kyle said. The woman placed her children down and covered them. She sat beside them, still watching Kyle like he was something unbelievable. "What's your name?" he asked. "Lyra," she answered. "And these are my children, Tavi and Noma," Kyle nodded. "I'm Kyle." Lyra whispered something to her kids in her own language. They closed their eyes and leaned against her. Kyle sat on his cot. He didn't know what to say. He never had company before, especially not like this. After a few minutes, Lyra spoke again. "Thank you. I thought no one would help us." "You're lucky it was me," Kyle said. "Most folks here would have reported you." "I know," Lyra whispered. "We've been hiding since we escaped the freighter. They were going to sell us." Kyle looked at her, eyes narrowing. "The syndicate?" She nodded once. Kyle didn't. "Like the syndicate. They ran illegal operations all over the outer colonies. Slavery, weapons, and worse. If they were after her, then she was in real danger." "You'll need to be careful," Kyle said. "They have patrols here sometimes. If they find you, they won't ask questions." "I'll stay hidden," she promised. Kyle leaned back, unsure what he had just gotten himself into. He had spent years avoiding drama, but now, with one act of kindness, he had opened his life to a stranger and her kids. As he looked at the sleeping children and the worried mother beside them, he told himself, this was temporary. Just one night. That's all. But deep down, he already knew it would be more than that. The next morning, the weak sunlight barely reached the cold tent. Outside, the harsh wind still howled across the barren mining moon. Kyle woke up to the soft sounds of small footsteps. He opened his eyes slowly and saw Lara moving quietly between the cot and the small table. She was making tea from the rations Kyle had given her. The children were still sleeping, wrapped in the thin blanket. Kyle sat up, rubbing his tired eyes. "You didn't have to do that," he said quietly. "You could have just stayed asleep." Lyra looked at him with a small, tired smile. "In my world, tea is important. It helps calm the mind." Kyle nodded. He didn't understand much about her world, but he respected her customs. They were strangers, but for now they shared this small shelter. The children woke soon after, rubbing their eyes and yawning. Tevi, the boy, limped a little as he tried to stand, but Noma, the little girl, held onto her mother tightly. "Come on," Kyle said, forcing a smile. "I need your help today." Lyra glanced at him. "What kind of help?" "There's a broken power relay near the south wing of the outpost," Kyle explained. "It causes blackouts and messes with the equipment. I need someone to hold the tools or pass parts. It's dangerous, but not too hard." Lyra looked at her kids, then back at Kyle. "I will do it, anything to keep us fed." Kyle saw determination in her eyes. "Good, we leave in half an hour." As they prepared, Kyle noticed how careful Lyra was with her children. She kept them close, but still wanted to help. He admired her strength. The power relay was far from the main buildings. The wind was worse there, whipping up dust and cold. Kyle worked quickly, fixing wires and replacing broken parts. Lyra passed tools efficiently, learning fast. "Tavi," Kyle said softly during a break, "why are you limping?" The boy looked away. "I fell while running away. It still hurts." Kyle felt a pang in his chest. This boy had seen things no child should see. Lyra said quietly. "We ran from a ship. The syndicate took many people. We escaped, but some got caught." Kyle frowned. "The syndicate is bad news. They don't stop hunting." "Yes," Lyra whispered. "They want me back." Kyle nodded grimly. "Then you must be careful." They finished the repair, and the power flickered back on. Lights in the outpost glowed again. Kyle smiled in relief. On the walk back, Kyle asked, "Tell me about your home. What was it like before?" Lyra hesitated. "It was beautiful, a green world with tall trees and clear rivers. My family was part of a peaceful group who helped others, but war came and everything changed." Kyle listened. He wanted to understand her better. "Why did you come here?" "We had no choice," she said. "The syndicate captured my family. I escaped with the children. We hoped to find safety." Kyle stopped walking. "This place isn't safe either." She looked up, her eyes shining. "But you helped us. You gave hope." Kyle shook his head. "I'm just a man trying to survive." Lyra smiled softly. "Sometimes small acts are the strongest." That night, Kyle offered what little food he had. Lyra shared stories about her children's laughter in better times, about the songs she sang to them, and about the hope she still held. Kyle felt something he had not felt in a long time: connection, but outside the stars were cold and endless. The syndicate's shadow was long, and danger was closer than they knew. The cold wind outside was sharp like a knife, but inside Kyle's tent there was a small warmth. It wasn't from the heater alone. Kyle felt it in his chest, a strange feeling he hadn't felt for a long time. Lyra sat near the small table, cleaning the tools Kyle had used that day. Tevi and Noma played quietly in the corner, their faces brighter than before. The food had helped, but Kyle knew it wasn't enough. They needed more. Kyle cleared his throat. "There, I have a suggestion." She looked up, curious but cautious. "What kind of suggestion?" "I can keep giving you food and shelter," Kyle said slowly, "but only if you help me with work around the outpost." "I'm the only engineer here, and things break all the time." Lyra thought for a moment. "I don't know much about machines." "You don't have to be an expert," Kyle said. "Just pass me tools, clean parts, or help me check systems." "It's better than nothing, right?" Lyra nodded. "Yes, I'll do it." Kyle smiled for the first time since she arrived. "Good. It's a deal." The next morning, Kyle showed Lara around the power station. He explained what each machine did, how to check for problems, and what to do in an emergency. Lyra listened carefully. Her eyes showed determination, not fear. She was a quick learner. Even Tavi and Noma seemed happier, watching their mother work. One evening, after a long day, Kyle and Lyra sat outside the tent. The stars shone above them, cold and distant. "Why did you really run away?" Kyle asked gently. Lyra looked at the ground. "The syndicate forced me to work for them. They took everything, my home, my family, my pride." Kyle frowned. "That's terrible." "It is," Lyra said softly. "But my children needed me alive. I would do anything to keep them safe." Kyle's mind wandered. He thought about his own life, simple, quiet, lonely. Helping Lara and her kids had changed everything. "I won't lie," Kyle said. "This isn't safe. The syndicate has eyes." "Everywhere," Lyra nodded. "I know. But with you, I feel a little safer." Kyle smiled. "Good, we'll watch each other's backs." Days passed. Lyra helped Kyle fix broken machines. She learned how to read gauges and tighten bolts. Kyle taught her how to operate the outpost's communication system. In return, Kyle gave them food every day. The children laughed more. The fear in their eyes slowly faded. One day, Kyle found a broken robot on the edge of the outpost. It was old and dusty, but still functional. He had an idea. "This robot could help with heavy work," Kyle told Lyra. "If we fix it, it can carry supplies and do dangerous jobs." Lyra smiled. "Then we must fix it." Together they worked on the robot. Lyra cleaned wires, held parts, and learned how the machine moved. Kyle showed her how to program simple commands. The robot slowly came to life. It beeped softly and lifted its arm. Tavi and Noma cheered. "This is more than just work," Kyle said. "It's a chance." Lyra looked at Kyle, hope shining in her eyes. "Thank you for everything." Kyle shrugged. "I'm just a man. But maybe together we can be more." That night, Kyle watched Lyra tuck her children into bed. He saw a mother's love, fierce and bright. For the first time in a long time, Kyle felt like he belonged. The mining outpost was usually quiet. Most days passed with little excitement. But today the air felt heavy, thick with tension that no one could explain. Kyle was working on a power converter when the distant hum of a patrol ship broke the silence. He stopped, ears alert. Lyra, who was helping clean tools nearby, noticed the change too. "Something's coming," she said quietly. Kyle nodded. "The syndicate patrols? They don't visit here often, but when they do, it means trouble." Lyra's face tightened with worry. "We have to hide." "They must not find us," Kyle frowned. "There's no time to leave. We need a plan." The patrol ship landed with a loud clang. A group of syndicate officers stepped out, dressed in dark armor that seemed to absorb the light. Their leader, a tall figure with cold eyes, scanned the area. Kyle quickly guided Lyra and the children to a hidden service hatch beneath the workshop. It was a small space used for emergency repairs, cramped but safe from view. "Stay here," Kyle whispered. "Don't make a sound." Lyra nodded, holding Tavi and Noma close. Kyle stepped outside as the officers began their search. One of them, a young officer with sharp eyes, walked directly toward Kyle. "Engineer," the officer said, voice low but firm. "We are inspecting all workers for fugitives. Have you seen anyone suspicious?" Kyle's heart pounded. He kept his face calm. "No, sir, just the usual crew." The officer narrowed his eyes. "We will be watching." "Helping fugitives is a serious crime." Kyle swallowed hard. "Understood." The patrol moved through the outpost, checking every room and corner. Kyle stayed near the entrance, pretending to work. Inside the hatch, Lyra held her breath. The children were silent, their small bodies pressed against her. Minutes felt like hours. Finally, the officers left. Returning to their ship, Kyle waited until the ship's engines roared back to life and it lifted off into the dark sky. He returned to the hatch and opened it slowly. Lyra and the children looked relieved. "That was close," Kyle said. Lyra hugged her kids tightly. "Too close." Kyle looked at her. "You can't stay hidden forever." They will come back. I know, she said. But I will not give up. My children need me, Kyle nodded. Then we need a better plan. He thought of the broken mining crawler lying abandoned nearby. If they could fix it, maybe they could escape the outpost before the syndicate returned. Lyra's eyes brightened for the first time in days. An escape. That could work, Kyle smiled. We'll start tomorrow. That night, as the cold moonlight touched the outpost, Kyle and Lyra prepared for what might come. They knew danger was near, but together they felt stronger. Outside, the stars watched silently. Waiting for the next move, the morning sun was weak but welcomed. Kyle and Lyra stood near the old mining crawler. It was a large machine used to carry heavy loads across the icy fields of Virex 4, but now it was rusted and broken down. The syndicate didn't care about this old machine, so it had been left. Behind for years, Kyle ran his hand over the cold metal. If we fix this, we can escape. It has enough fuel to get to the resistance zone nearby. Lyra looked at the machine, hope shining in her eyes. Then let's start. My children deserve a better future. The work was hard. The crawler was missing many parts, and the cold wind made every task harder. Kyle climbed inside to check the engine while Lyra cleaned the rust off the joints. You have good hands, Kyle said. You learn quickly, Lyra smiled. I want to learn for them. Tevi and Noma watched from a small distance. They were quiet but curious, their eyes following every movement. As Kyle worked, he noticed Lyra's strength. Despite everything she had been through, she didn't give up. That made Kyle respect her more, but repairing the crawler was only part of the problem. The syndicate could return any time. The outpost's security systems were broken and sometimes failed, leaving gaps in the patrols. Kyle pulled up the control panel. We need to fix this too. If we can make the alarms work better, maybe we can get a warning before they come. Lyra looked over his shoulder. Is it difficult? Not easy, Kyle said. But with your help, we can do it faster. They spent hours fixing broken wires and cleaning sensors. Slowly, the security system began to hum with life again. One night, as Kyle and Lyra worked side by side, Lyra's face softened. Kyle, I want to tell you something. Kyle looked at her, curious. I was once part of a noble house, Lyra said quietly. Before the war, before the syndicate took over, we helped protect our people, but we lost everything. Kyle nodded, understanding the pain behind her words. My pride made me hide my need, Lyra continued. I never wanted to beg, but my children were starving. That changed everything. Kyle reached out, placing a hand on her shoulder. You did what any parent would do, Lyra smiled weakly. Thank you. Suddenly, the security system beeped. Loudly, Kyle jumped up. They're coming. Lyra grabbed her children. We must hurry. The crawler was almost ready. Kyle started the engine and it roared to life, shaking the ground beneath them. They climbed inside. Kyle took the driver's seat, while Lyra held Tavi and Noma close. The outpost lights flickered as alarms began to blare. Kyle pulled the crawler forward, moving fast through the icy paths. Behind them, the syndicate's patrol ships lifted off. Engines loud and angry. The chase was on. The crawler bounced over rocks and ice. Kyle focused on the path ahead, trying to stay one step ahead of the patrol. Lyra comforted her children, whispering promises of safety. Suddenly, the crawler hit a rough patch, and Kyle lost control. The machine swerved dangerously close to it. Cliff, hold on! Kyle shouted. Lyra gripped the kids tighter. The crawler rocked but didn't fall. Kyle took a deep breath and steered the machine back onto the path. We're almost there, he said, voice steady. After what felt like hours, the outpost disappeared behind them. The cold stars above seemed brighter now. They reached the resistance zone, a small hidden settlement of people fighting against the syndicate's control. Kyle and Lyra looked at each other, tired but alive. The resistance leaders welcomed them. With cautious smiles, Kyle was given a choice: return to his post or stay and help the fight. He looked at Lyra and the children, playing safely for the first time. He knew his answer. I'm staying, Kyle said firmly. Lyra smiled, hope filling her heart. Together, they had escaped the darkness and found a new beginning. The resistance camp was quiet but full of purpose. Small tents and makeshift buildings stretched across a rocky valley, hidden from the syndicate's watchful eyes. People moved quickly, preparing supplies and planning missions to fight back. Kyle found himself working alongside engineers and mechanics who repaired old ships and weapons. It was harder than his life on the mining moon, but he felt useful. Lyra joined a group of women training with basic weapons. She was learning fast, her determination shining through every move. Tevi and Noma played safely near the camp center. Laughing with other children, one afternoon, Kyle was called to a meeting with the resistance leaders. They spoke in low voices about a new syndicate attack expected soon. "We need a plan to protect the camp," said one leader. "We also want to help more refugees like Lyra and her children." Kyle listened carefully. He knew the syndicate wouldn't stop chasing them. But here, there was hope. That night, as the camp slept under the stars, Kyle and Lyra sat by a small fire. "We can't stay hidden forever," Kyle said quietly. "The syndicate will come again, stronger," Lyra nodded. "Then we must be ready." Suddenly, loud alarms shattered the calm. Red lights flashed as people rushed to their positions. "The syndicate patrols!" Someone shouted. Kyle grabbed a tool and ran toward the camp's entrance. Lyra called to her children, holding them close. The syndicate forces arrived with heavy weapons, their ships landing near the camp. Kyle and the resistance fighters prepared to defend their home. The battle was fierce. Kyle helped repair damaged equipment while Lyra fought alongside the others. She moved with courage, protecting her children and new friends, but the syndicate had more power and numbers. Kyle realized they needed a risky plan. He gathered a small group, including Lyra. "We'll use the crawler," Kyle said. "It can carry supplies and fighters. We can hit the syndicate from behind." Lyra looked determined. "I'm with you." They loaded weapons and supplies onto the crawler. Kyle took the driver's seat once again, feeling the machine rumble beneath him. The night was dark as they moved through rocky paths toward the syndicate's camp. They reached the enemies perimeter quietly. Kyle stopped the crawler behind a group of ships. "We strike fast and hard," he whispered. Lyra led the charge. With Kyle and the others following, the syndicate fighters were caught by surprise. Lyra's voice was strong as she shouted commands. The resistance fighters fought bravely, pushing the enemy back. Kyle used the crawler's heavy arms to block incoming attacks. The battle lasted long, but finally the syndicate began to retreat. The resistance cheered. Kyle looked at Lyra, proud of her strength after the fight. Kyle helped tend to the wounded. Lyra held her children tightly, grateful to be safe. That night, Kyle and Lyra talked by the fire. "You are brave," Kyle said softly. Lyra smiled. "So are you." They shared a quiet moment. The danger far away for now, Kyle realized how much Lyra and her children had changed his life. Together, they had faced fear and won. The future was still uncertain, but they would face it as one. The morning sun slowly rose over the resistance camp, casting soft light on the faces of those who had fought and survived. The air smelled of hope and fresh beginnings. Kyle stood near the edge of the camp, watching the children play. Among them were Tevi and Noma, laughing freely without fear for the first time in many months. Lyra sat nearby, her eyes shining as she watched her children. For the first time since arriving on HFY, she allowed herself to smile without worry. Kyle walked over and sat beside her. "They seem happy," he said quietly. Lyra nodded. "They deserve this. After everything we have been through, I want them to grow up with laughter, not fear." Kyle looked around at the busy camp. People worked together, building, repairing, and planning a future far from the syndicate's reach. "They are rebuilding their lives here," Kyle said. "And so are we." Lyra reached out, taking Kyle's hand gently. "Thank you for helping. You saved my family." Kyle shook his head. "We saved each other." The leaders of the resistance soon called Kyle to another meeting. They needed him to help build stronger defenses and improve communication between camps. Kyle agreed. This was his new life, one of purpose and belonging. Lyra joined the training squads, learning more each day. She was no longer just a frightened refugee. She was becoming a fighter, a symbol of hope for others. One evening, Kyle sat alone outside his tent, looking up at the stars. The sky was vast and full of mysteries. He thought about his quiet life before meeting Lyra and her children. Nothing could have prepared him for the changes that came with kindness and courage. Lyra approached quietly and sat beside him. "Do you miss your old life?" she asked. Kyle smiled softly. "Sometimes. But this feels right now. I have found something worth fighting for." Lyra leaned her head on his shoulder. "Me too." Days turned into weeks. The camp grew stronger. More people came seeking refuge, and the resistance pushed back against the syndicate's control. Tavi and Noma made new friends and began attending lessons taught by the camp's teachers. Their laughter became the soundtrack of the camp's hope. One day, a message arrived from a nearby colony. They asked for help against a syndicate attack. Kyle and Lyra prepared to lead a small team. It was dangerous but necessary. Together, they would protect others as they had been protected. Before leaving, Kyle knelt to Tavi and Noma. "Be brave. We will come back." The children smiled, knowing their parents would do everything to keep them safe. The mission was tough, but Kyle and Lyra's team succeeded. They helped save the colony and brought more people into the resistance. Back at the camp, Kyle and Lyra stood side by side, watching the sunset. The future was still uncertain, but they were ready. Lyra whispered, "I never thought I would find peace again." Kyle smiled. "Neither did I, but here we are." They held hands, knowing their journey was far from over, but that together they could face anything. The stars above shone brighter, as if welcoming their new family into the universe's great story.